Hello, everybody. I'm Howard Jacobson, and today I want to talk about one of the best ways to get leverage over your bad habits. Why do we need leverage over our bad habits? Because they have leverage over us. It can feel that way, can't it? That, okay, I want to not eat the cookies in the break room, and yet every day we're drawn in there, and all of the ideas that we have about who we want to be go out the window, and we smell the cookies, or we see them, or we see someone else eating them, or we see crumbs on someone else's plate. And then when we're done, we have these recriminations and remorse. Oh, why am I keep doing that? I'm going to do it next time. Those are the kinds of habits that have leverage over us. I think of it like almost like in grappling or wrestling, like they've got us in the half Nelson here, right? And we're pinned to the desk, and they'll let us up when they're good and ready. And it feels terrible, right? It can feel awful to be in the grip of one or more of those habits, especially when you see the effect that it's having. Maybe you had a physical, or you've talked to your doctor, your healthcare professional about what's going on, or you're on meds, or you don't like the way you look and the way you feel, or you can see the future that's bleak, and you know that this momentary pleasure, this momentary thing you're giving into isn't worth the consequences, and yet you can't stop. So the frustration that comes from that is on top of the frustration and the bad feelings that are the natural consequences. So we're adding another layer. We're adding a layer of what's wrong with me, right? This narrative of, I don't understand why I can't do the thing I say I want to do. And that feeling can be even more corrosive than the problem itself. This deep, profound lack of self-trust, of lack of self-regard. What's wrong with me? I'm broken. I have no self-discipline. I have no willpower. I have no agency. I'm broken in this way. And then that can lead, of course, to giving up and to saying, well, I don't really care, right? When someone says, I don't really care about their health, we get, healthcare behavioral professionals, we want to go into motivational tactics. We want to get people motivated, like, no, you do care. But in fact, people who say they don't care are often the ones who care the most, and it's just too painful. It's the sour grapes thing. It's too painful to care when you don't think you can have it, when your sense of self-confidence around this behavior has just been beaten down. So one way to begin to get leverage over these bad habits is to do what we teach in Sick to Fit and what we teach at WellStart Health, which is to take a small approach, to do things, to attempt things that are so tiny, small, limited, atomic, that we are confident that we can do them. So maybe the thing would be, if it's about food, adding one piece of healthy food, which could feel a lot easier than saying no to unhealthy food. But once we do that, we can still be doing the right things and not getting leverage over the bad habits. And so what I want to talk about today is a technique for like really flipping this scenario, this like from the half Nelson that we're pinned, our faces being mashed into the ground, to totally turning that on its head. And the key to that is this feeling that we have of, I am not being the person I want to be, right? So that feeling triggers in a lot of people this despair cycle, this lack of self-efficacy. But let's unpack that feeling, because it's a really potentially powerful ally. Because why do we feel so bad when we can't say no to cookies? Why do we feel so bad when we want to incorporate movement. We want to do, go for a walk in the morning, and we keep oversleeping and not having time for it. Why do we feel bad about that? It's not really because we're not getting the results we want. It's because we're not being the person we want to be. And so stopping to acknowledge that, to say what's going on here is a crisis of values. So Peter Bregman, one of my mentors and teachers and friends who created the coaching model that we use at WellStart Health, said recently that it's easy to talk about our values. And you look at any company's mission statement, like we value the customer, we value honesty, we value whatever. And it's easy to say, like, I value courage, I value loyalty, I value fairness, I value honesty. But what we really value shows up when our values are in conflict. So what we see then in that moment when you're choosing the cookie, that there's a conflict between I want to feel good right now and I want to achieve these results in the future. And what we're doing in that moment is giving in to momentary pleasure instead of long-term benefit. And that realization, we can just feel bad about it, or we can say, what's the value that's important to me? Because if I didn't care about what I looked like, if I didn't care about what I weighed, if I didn't care about how I could contribute to the world, if I didn't care about what I could be for my family, if I didn't care about not being a burden on others, then I could just eat the cookies, right? There's nothing wrong with just eating a lot of cookies if you don't mind the consequences. So let's ask the question, what is at stake here? Why am I sad about my inability to say no to cookies? And we can then think about, like, what's the value that we are in conflict over? Is it, I am a self-disciplined person. I value self-discipline. Is it, I value keeping my word, that if I say I'm not going to eat the cookies anymore, then I don't want to be the sort of person who goes back on their word? Is it, I value contribution. I want to make the world a better place. And when I eat cookies without restraint, I lose my ability. I undermine my ability in the future. And even now, when I feel, I eat the cookies, I get a brain fog, I have a sugar rush, I get cranky afterwards, and I crash and I need more. And I'm unable to contribute the best that I have to offer. So when you feel bad, you can either turn that bad feeling into a spiral of self-punishment, of shame, which of course then feeds the need to do the thing that you didn't want to do in the first place, because we do that thing in the moment because it makes us feel better. So if you just take that bad feeling and you allow it to compound, it will snowball into this giant half Nelson of the habit getting you down, grinding your face into the ground. You can interrupt it, though. You can interrupt it by saying, what's at stake here? What's the value that means something to me that I'm contradicting by this action? And then check in with that value. So let's say the value is contribution. I want to make the world a better place. I look around and I see so many things that need fixing. I see poverty. I see environmental degradation. I see animal suffering. I see unfairness in the economic system. I see all these things. I see migrants at the border being put into cages, children separated from their families. I want to do something about that. And of course, when I look at it all, part of me feels bad and just wants to make myself feel better with cookies. But when I connect to the value, I want to contribute. I want to have the energy and the longevity to protest, to go to meetings, to support political candidates, to engage in public discourse, to make videos, to run for office, whatever is within my skill set and my resources. I want to be able to give that as fully as I can. I don't want my grandchildren in the future to ask me, when this was all going down, what did you do? And my answer to be, I ate a lot of cookies. I didn't really have the energy or the health to do much about it because of choices I made. So now I'm going to connect with that value of contribution and seeing myself as someone who contributes, as someone who thinks that my rent for being on this earth is to make it a better place for my family, for my friends, for my community, for my country, for my world, for all my relations, for the breath of life, the gift of life that I have been given by something, someone. Doesn't have to be, religious, but it can be. What do I owe for this life? And now I can then look at the sadness that I feel and the anger that I feel and the confusion that I feel and tie it to a deep value. Oh, that's why this bothers me so much. That's why the cookie habit bothers me, because it's contravening a deep personal value and identity. And what do we do at that point? We then use that value and say, when I live that value, here's what I do. Here's how I act. Here's how I want to behave around the cookie as a person who believes in contribution. And now, with that mindset, I can then apply all of the behavioral tools and tactics and strategies and tricks with a lot more energy behind it. Now I'm putting my body weight into the effort to change a behavior rather than just sort of punching from the shoulder without the full body, without the full identity, without my full being in the fight. So play with that. If you're interested in really going for a deep dive, an experiential dive into behavior change, I invite you to check out wellstarthealth.com. And if you look at wellstarthealth.com/program, you can see our next 12-week intensive, followed by 9 months of support and follow-up, is beginning soon. You can sign up for that, and you get to work with me, with our other coaches, with dietitians, with the platform that has been proven to turn people's health destiny around by giving them the tools and the insights and the community to grab the steering wheel. So you're no longer in the backseat being driven by cravings and temptations, but you get into the front seat and your hands are on the steering wheel and you learn how to take control of your own health destiny. Hope this was helpful. See you all in the next video. Have a great day.